This slideshow is for TCI Chapter 16, the Industrial Revolution. This will only cover the preview. Our new essential question for the Industrial Revolution: what was so revolutionary about the Industrial Revolution? If you go to the preview for Chapter 16 in your notebook guide, you'll have a number of questions that relate to this image. And what I'd like you to do is look at the image and answer those questions on your notebook guide. And we're going to take each of these three panels top to bottom. So what interesting details do you see in these top two images? Note those in your notebook guide. What interesting details do you see in these middle two images? Note those in your notebook guide. What interesting details do you see in these bottom two images? Note those on your notebook guide. So how are the pictures on the left different from those on the right? How might the inventions shown on the right have changed or improved life in Great Britain? For what purpose do you think this piece of art was created? And if you were the artist, what title might you give to the work? Answer those questions on your notebook guide. This is an English lithograph, and its title is "The Triumph of Steam and Electricity." It commemorated the Diamond Jubilee, or the 60th anniversary of Queen Victoria's rule. It celebrates the accomplishments of the Industrial Revolution in England. The panels show the improvement of the steamboat over the sailboat, the train over the horse and carriage, and electric over gas lighting. In this lesson, you're going to learn about the many causes and effects of the Industrial Revolution. This lithograph appeared in the Illustrated London News in 1897. Lithographs are copies of original works of art, but they're not fakes because they're authorized and approved by the original artist. Open TCI in a separate browser tab and read Chapter 16, Section 1, the Introduction. And then, on your notebook guide, propose some possible answers to the essential question. These are 5 key content terms, and they represent important aspects of the Industrial Revolution. Copy these definitions onto your notebook guide. We're going to continue to investigate these key content terms by looking at some images and have you think about how they may apply to the Industrial Revolution. Here's the first. Enclosure was the fencing in of lands, often for commercial farming. How do you see the enclosure movement in this 1884 illustration? Add the answer to your notebook guide. Capitalism is an economic system with private property and markets. How can you see capitalism at work in this engraving of a London marketplace? Add the answer to your notebook guide. Productivity is the amount of goods and services produced per unit of resources. How do you see productivity in this 1860 engraving? Mass production is the high volume, low cost production of identical items. How do you see mass production in this 1860 engraving of a mechanical loom? Add your answer to your notebook guide. Urbanization is the process of turning a village into a city. How do you see urbanization in this 19th century engraving of slums in London? Add your answer to your notebook guide. The audio slideshow on the next slide explains why the Industrial Revolution originated in Great Britain. As you watch, write one specific example of each of these factors: innovation and inventions, resources, transportation infrastructure,
Over time, the Industrial Revolution changed how work was done. Great Britain led the way, sparked by the success of Watt's steam engine in the late 1700s. By the mid-1800s, British manufacturers far exceeded those of any other country. The pace of industrialization in Great Britain earned it the title Workshop of the World. But why did the revolution start in this small European island nation? The Industrial Revolution in Great Britain centered on the textile industry. Manufacturing textiles was a complex manual process. Workers had to clean and untangle cotton, wool, or other fibers. They also had to twist the fibers into thread and weave the thread into cloth. In the mid-1700s, before a practical steam engine existed, inventors in Great Britain were already experimenting with ways to improve textile manufacturing. More sophisticated looms and a mechanical spinning jenny greatly increased production. In 1769, Richard Arkwright, also from England, invented a way to use flowing water to turn a water wheel, which could supply mechanical power to a textile mill. His machine ran on water power, which was not suited for use in the home. Still, independent mills with multiple machines began sprouting up near streams and rivers throughout England. Over time, steam engines replaced water wheels, freeing owners to build factories away from sources of flowing water. If the steam engine powered the Industrial Revolution, coal fueled it. Steam engines burned coal, lots of it. Coal was also used to convert iron into steel. Steel was harder, stronger, and more durable than iron. Deposits of coal were plentiful in Great Britain. Great Britain also had plenty of wool. By the late 1700s, many of the nation's farmers had turned to sheep herding to provide wool for the spinning and weaving trades. By the late 1700s, Great Britain had a system of roads and bridges that could accommodate the regular transport of goods. Wagon loads of produce moved from the countryside to cities to feed the growing urban population. Manufactured goods traveled to distant markets, although at a fairly slow pace. With industrialization came improvements in transportation technology. Steamboats carried cargo and hauled barges along a system of canals and rivers. Steam locomotives crisscrossed the country on a complex network of rails. By 1852, Great Britain had laid some 7,000 miles of track. Railroads carried heavy loads of food and freight in a fast and reliable manner, helping create a national market for goods. The ability to manufacture a product in one location and sell it anywhere in the nation stimulated the economy. The Industrial Revolution arose in an atmosphere of liberalism. Great Britain, with its liberal constitution, supported not only individual political freedom, but also individual property rights and equality of opportunity. These traits of British society encouraged entrepreneurs to take risks in pursuit of profit. Great Britain, the most powerful country in the world in the mid-1800s, also provided the political stability that fosters economic growth. Industrialization steadily improved Great Britain's economy. It increased the amount of goods produced and greatly raised worker productivity, the amount of goods each worker produced on average. Wealth generated by industrialization enhanced the standard of living for many people. It also made more tax revenue available to the government. Great Britain showed off its industrial and financial prowess at the 1862 World's Fair held in London. Competing nations took notice and sought to develop their own industries. Generally, they adopted the elements of the British model that suited their circumstances. The